So it's definitely been a while since the first episode, but it is finally time for the second episode of Totally 80s Cartoon Reviews. And this one was one of the requests by one of my Askewed viewers. So does this series about smashing two animals together bring back memories for you?
Here in the land of was, they're having twice the fun. Cause every single thing is really two in one. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. And when you add it up, you get a lot of laughs. Ooh, they got originality. Living with a split personality. With the Wuzzles. Ooh, yeah. With the Wuzzles. Oh, yeah. Two times the fun. Wrapped up and rolled into one. Ooh, they got originality. Living with a split personality. With a Wuzzle. Ooh, yeah. With a Wuzzle. Oh, yeah. Two times the fun. Wrapped up and rolled into one.
That's right, I'm talking about the Disney 1985 series that all took place in the land of Was. This was one of those cartoon series that just had a bunch of misadventures each episode instead of a long, overarching story throughout the entire season. And if you weren't aware, there was only one season. This had 13 episodes, and it wasn't like some of those cartoons where there was kind of two episodes per episode. There was one adventure for each episode. Probably the biggest downfall for this show is that Disney made the poor choice of having it going up against one of its own other products, The Adventures of the Gummy Bears. Both of these shows debuted on September 14th, 1985, with one of them appearing on CBS and the other on NBC. But the bigger issue is the fact that they had the exact same time slot. I don't think The Wuzzles was a bad show, but I will say this: The Adventures of the Gummy Bears was far superior, and if they're going to be fighting for the same time slot, one of them is going to lose out. More than likely, it was the unfavorable ratings that this show got as to why it got canceled, but there was also another potential reason, as Bill Scott, who voiced the character of Moosel, passed away, and they did not want to replace him. For the moment, though, let's drop the death and cancellation talks and get back to talking about the show The Wuzzles. The original title for this series was actually going to be Jumble Isle, and it was in fact an idea created by Disney. More specifically, though, it was Michael Eisner's idea. However, though, there was a very similar idea that Hasbro also had in the pipeline of doing a television series about animals being mixed together. Now, this almost became a legal matter, but instead of one side fighting the other, Disney and Hasbro decided to work together. Disney would produce and make the television series, and Hasbro would make all the toys. The series was directed and written by Fred Wolf and Carol Beers. Now, this wasn't the only thing that Wolf and Beers worked on, as they also did an animated film that you might have heard of called The Point. Wolf, by the way, would also go on to be one of the writers for the animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles television series. The man who wrote and sang that theme song you heard just a few moments ago was Stephen Geyer. This is one of the only times where he actually sings one of the songs that he wrote, but he wrote quite a few other songs as well. He wrote a few of the songs for the movie Zapped. He also helped write the theme songs for Hardcastle and McCormick, Blossom, The Hogan Family, Cop Rock, and probably the best known one, the theme song to The Greatest American Hero. So those are of course some of the people who helped to make this a show. But let's talk about the show itself. Now, even though virtually everyone in the land of Was is a Wuzzle, the primary characters that we follow are these six right here. First off, you have the character of Bumbleion, who is part bumblebee, part lion, and is essentially the leader of the group. Ellaroo, who is part elephant and part kangaroo, and whose pouch essentially works like a bag of holding, as he can keep quite a few things in there. Next, we have Butterbear, part butterfly, part bear, which for some reason means that her antennae are made out of flowers. Also, she has the largest wings, which it's weird, all of the main characters do have wings, but she's the only one who can fly. Then we have Hoppopotamus, or Hoppo for short. She is part hippo, part rabbit. She really wants to be an actress or singer, but is terrible at both. She's obsessed with Bumbleian, and she's really only around for fat jokes. Second to last, we have Rhinoki. Part rhino, part monkey, and he really just likes to make jokes and pull pranks. The last one is Moosel. Part moose, part seal, and for the most part, he's the one who gets to worry and be nervous about everything. There are also some villains that'll show up from time to time, with the primary one being Croc or Crocosaurus, who is part crocodile and part dinosaur, and his two henchmen, Brat, who is part boar and part dragon, and Flizzard, who is part frog and part lizard. Besides the primary characters, there are a lot of side characters that really only show up for one episode, like Tycoon, who's part tiger and part raccoon, or Transylvia, who's not only part vulture and part bat, but also part vampire and part witch. The show will also do silly combinations like pirates, which are part parrot and part rat, and even poultrygeists, which apparently when you die in this world, you become part chicken. Aside from talking human like characters, there are also basic animals like this bullfinch or this gorantula. Also, foods, products, and vehicles are even smashed together, like this chug boat. They'll even poke fun at our world from time to time, as they could visit Hollywood or even run into famous movie director Steven Spielberg. With this being a Disney series, they even make fun of themselves, as you could go watch a production of Cinderwuzzle, or get a Halloween costume of Tinkerwuzzle. Now, I've talked plenty about the TV side of this deal, let's talk about the toys. Hasbro primarily did stuffed animals for this series, but what was really cool is each one came with their own storybook. I'm curious if any one of you remember seeing this commercial.
Come to the wonderful land of Wuz and meet the lovable Wuzzles.
Who are you?
A Wuzzle.
No, a Wuzzle. Name's Hippopotamus. I'm part hopping rabbit, part happy hippo, and that book's about me.
Wuzzles are cute.
Wuzzles love to play.
Have you snuggled a Wuzzle today? Come to the wonderful land of
We're
Wuz.
just dreaming about a Wuzzle.
A what? No, Granny, a Wuzzle. Have you snuggled a Wuzzle today?
Wuzzles. Each one comes with its very own storybook, and they're each sold separately from Hasbro Softies.
So did any of you end up owning any of these stuffies? I actually did own a Bumbleian, and I kind of wish I still had it. There was also a figurine set, which I did not have any of those. I also did not own the board game, which, if any of you played this, was this fun? Now, if any of you are wanting to take a nostalgic stroll through this series, it has never actually appeared on Disney Plus and never had a home video release. It is, however, able to be found on YouTube. Now, no one's asking, but I'm going to share which episode was my favorite, and that's Bumbleian and the Terrified Forest, as this one really seems to have the most adventurous story and some interesting characters. Other than fan drawings, there's been no steps forward on a reboot for this series, which does surprise me a little bit. There is, however, a fun nod to the show in the rebooted DuckTales series. In the episode, there's an artifact called the Stone of What Was, which apparently combines animals together. And on the stone, there appears to be a lion with antennae. Also, we do see monstrous versions of Butterbear and Rhinoki. The TV series Robot Chicken also makes two references towards the Wuzzles. One sketch gives a horrifying explanation of where Wuzzles come from, and the other sketch essentially states that Seth Brundle from The Fly is also a Wuzzle. My plan is to end each of these episodes with a trivia question. So in reference to the Wuzzles, which of the 6 main characters has a job, and what is it? Feel free to pause now if you want a moment to think. The answer is Rhinoki. He works as a cab driver. Now, even though some of the other Wuzzles do odd chores around the town, this seems to be the only actual job that one of them has. I hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane and learning more about the Wuzzles. I'm going to give this series a 3 out of 5. Hopefully it does not take as long to get episode 3 out for this series, but if you're interested, check out episode 1, which is all about Visionaries, Knights of the Magical Light.